So the next 6 months, these are some of the things that we did, and I'm going to show you some pictures of that. Doctors took a vote for veg. We put a bid into the lottery for an aquaponics unit. We started putting some plants in the old people's homes, and we grew in graveyards. So basically at the health centre, you know, isn't this utterly bonkers? We've got a brand new health centre in Tottenham, £6 million thing. And what's the landscaping of this health centre? I don't know whether we've got any landscape architects here. I love them dearly on the whole, but basically, it's all about prickly plants. The whole place is surrounded by prickly plants that people won't do naughty things in or whatever, because we all assume people are really naughty all the time. So we went to the doctors and said, wouldn't it be a great idea if we could get rid of those prickly plants and put edibles in there? And they said, yeah, that would be a great idea, because we're not very keen on 5 a day. Because 5 a day is a little bit of a middle-class concept, if I might say, so it doesn't actually impact on the people who really need it. Wouldn't it be great if young people walking in and out of this health centre every single day of their life for the next 10 years, hopefully they weren't going to be there every single day of their life for the next 10 years, but anyway, when they did, were surrounded by growing edible things that they could pick and eat. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Wouldn't they have a different attitude to food if that was at the heart of their lives? So anyway, we went to the council, and on this occasion we did ask them, it being a little bit public there and it not being our land, and we didn't want to get shot, and they said, yeah, you can do that, but you know, we'd like it in Latin in triplicate if you're going to replace all that planting. So luckily we found somebody that was a supporter who did it in triplicate and in Latin, and we started to grow. And we've got apples and pears, and we've got soft fruits, we've got strawberries. We created an apothecary's garden at the back of it where there was nothing whatsoever. The health centre themselves gave us some money for the wood, and we just maintain it free of charge. The community looks after that. So, you know, we've got something that nurses and doctors, if they need to be stressed out, can sit down, rub a little bit of lavender, feel great about it, but the general public can have a look what echinacea actually looks like, what chamomile actually looks like, and on the way they can pick strawberries and help themselves to fruit. It's not it doesn't cost any more than doing prickly plants. It's a no-brainer, but it just makes a lot of sense. At the Old People's Care Home, we've got a transitional home in Tottenham where people are put when they're too old to be looked after at home, but haven't yet sort of arrived at their final destination. So these are sad times in people's lives. And on the whole, a lot of the people that were sat there were doing nothing whatsoever. You know, how depressing is that? So we went to the health centre and said, if you'll give us the money for the beds, we'd actually got some free bits of wood from B&Q, and we'd also been to a derelict site and done a deal with the guy that was demolishing the houses and got the wood free of charge. So, you know, it's all about wheeling and dealing on these things. And we built raised beds at the height of a wheelchair. So people can come out and they can actually do a bit of gardening, and we put stuff in that they like to grow. Originally, we put some really fancy stuff in, but you know, what they want is rhubarb. So we planted rhubarb. So we've got lots of rhubarb, and we've got lots of carrots, and we've got lots of onions, and we've got shed loads of tomatoes. And now, you know, in terms of veg in summer, that care home is completely self-serving, and that's fantastic. And we could have that in every single care home in the land. And then we got the good old police station, because what happened was, once the doctors had done their bit, we then went to one or two other, you know, icons of the community, if you like, and said, what do you think about growing in stuff? And the police said, you know, that'd be quite good if you put a raised bed in front of the police station. So we did. And they grew sweet corn, and we do have pictures of police watering it, if you believe it or not. Oh, but when the police station did their thing, and that was fabulous, then the ambulance people said, well, we're not really done about this. So the ambulance station started to plant their own apple trees and cherry trees. And then we went to the railway station, and the railway station, which is in the town centre, it had a really polluted, horrible bit of land in the corner of the car park. So we said to the railway station, would you mind if we did that? And they said no. People said no, provided you don't ask them to do the digging, it's absolutely fine. So we dug out that area, and we used Future Jobs Fund people, which was great because they were bored to death with painting the railings in the next town. It wasn't very inspiring, whereas doing this stuff gave them a sense of purpose and a bit of a laugh. So we built these raised beds, again with B&Q land, and now we have a whole host of stuff growing there in summer. Edible flowers, as well as rocket, as well as artichokes and cabbages and kale, and you name it. We've got 3 beds at the station now, one in memory of a station master who recently died, and he loved broccoli, so we've got every type of broccoli growing in that bed, and it's called Reggie's Veg Bed. And what happens is we promote all this with little signs that people get off the train. On the platform, they help themselves to herbs, which we planted in the planters, and we give them little notices that tell them what to do with them. Then they nick a few bits of chard or whatever else it is on the way home, and then they get in the car, and then they drive home. Now, it would be great if they're walking home, but you're halfway there when they're picking local veg. Oh, hang on. No, oh, that was good. And then, it's not just about what you can do, you know, in the more affluent parts of town. We have a lot of social housing in Topperden, and you can see the terrain that we're actually dealing with here. So after a while, we spoke to the Pennine Housing, which is the social landlord here. And Pennine Housing said, would it be okay if we were called Incredible Edible Pennine Housing? Well, you know, would it be okay? It'd be totally and utterly fantastic. So what they did is gave away lots of tomato plants and potato plants and strawberry plants and whatever with it. And a core of people on that estate got interested. This only works if people come to the table. It does not work if you force it on people. So a core of people came to the table and we had a little chat with them. And now we've got 8 raised beds that we built up there. These are the future jobs from people, again, helping us out on that. Run by the community, growing for the community. We've got skills training up there for grafting and growing and composting. And we've now got a core of people up there who are doing things with their lives that they were never going to do before. Because basically nobody ever had a conversation with them before. And now they're starting to link into the why they're doing this, as well as the what of what they're doing. And the why is really important. And then we go on to learning. So basically in Topperden we've got a high school and we've got 6 junior schools. Now lots and lots of people are doing lots of things, but what we wanted to do was bring all our learning together. So we've got a network of parents in Topperden, because teachers find it all difficult with the curriculum and so on and so forth, and we never headbutt anybody. We always find a way around a problem. It's just too debilitating to take on negative things, so positive all the time. So what we've got now is we've got a high school leading the way, and we've got growing in every other school, and they're all sharing their own seeds, and they're all sharing their own skills and knowledge. And some of them are keeping hens for others, and some of them are growing other things, so they're swapping in between each other, and they're about to start talking about collective bargaining as a bunch of schools, because the way that the new rules and regs work, it allows them to do that. This is one of our schools, which was in the playground. This is another one of our schools at Fernley, where this was a derelict tennis court. So basically there's now 30 raised beds here. Just above this school is the other big estate in Topperden. So all these beds are shared by members of that estate. And the fabulous thing about it is the real growers are from the Bengali and Kashmiri communities, and they are teaching the rest of Topperden how to grow stuff that they couldn't have imagined they could have grown. And it's fabulous, and it just looks so beautiful. And then of course we've got our graveyard bed, because one of our other schools is on a main road and has no land to grow whatsoever, but it happens to be right next to a graveyard. So we did go and see the people that, whatever they're called, the people that look after graveyards, and we said, would you mind if we grew in that graveyard, because the soil's terribly good. And they said, no, absolutely fine, you can do that. So these kids, who were a bit frightened of this creepy graveyard, now just love it. And they go in there and they grow their own food, they've built their own raised beds, you know, we're growing corn, it featured in Hugh Fernley Whitting stall, you know, the kids are just having a fabulous time, and that then appears on their table. So that's good stuff, because all this is about kids. And if you haven't got something where you can grow on, what you do is you just, like, you know, you do a little bit of Arthur Daly or whatever it is. What we've got here are some bulbs that the local park in Halifax, which is one of our towns, was throwing away because they were holed. Well, they're perfect for growing in. So we said to a local guy who got a flat back, would you mind sticking these bulbs on this? No, he said, that's absolutely fine. So we stuck them on, and we gave them one to each of the schools. And now, irrespective of whether they got land or not, they've got a bulb to grow in. Which just goes to show people, to show people that you can grow in anything at all. And then, of course, we've got the link between the schools and the farmers, because it's so important that we start to break down some of these barriers, that, you know, things don't come in paper packaging in a supermarket. They actually come from something like this, or one of the raised beds, or whatever. So now on a regular basis, we have a swap between the school and the local farms. The farms come down with their livestock or whatever they've got, so kids can sort of ask questions and learn, or the kids put their wellies on and they go up to the local school. Now loads of people are doing all this type of stuff. It's about the urgency and the bringing all these things together to create a critical mass that people can believe in, as opposed to something that just dribbles on. And then we've got the food hub here. Because if we're going to actually do something creative, at the back of the high school we've got a lot of land. What can we do with that land? We spoke to some people who were advisors on sustainability, and they said, oh God, you could put an aquaponics unit, you could grow your own fish.